Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of the Alley-Oop program. I'm Andrew Gaze. This is Leonard Copeland, and thanks very much for joining us on a special time because we're now, I believe, on the cusp of deciding who is going to be the 2020 and Leonard Copeland. We're going to this in series in this program. We're also going to have a look at Kyrie Irving. He's made in the last week or so, and earlier you went on vacation. You said you program. I just
vacation. Okay, right.
I just want to
Melbourne vacation. You kidding me? Let's go.
I just want to abandon my brother, my longtime partner, and I got the privilege of speaking to Ben Gulliver. Now, who's Ben Gulliver? Ben Gulliver is a star because he's been covering the NBA the last 10, 15 years. He works for Sports Illustrated with their podcast. His primary job is working for the Washington Post, where he's the chief NBA reporter. And he has been in the bubble the last 3 months. And I got to spend some time with him and learn about all the goings on in the NBA bubble and get his view on the NBA and the NBA finals. He is an absolute delight. And if you're keen to get an insight about the NBA and the NBA bubble, I suggest you listen to that podcast. And we've got a link below in the Copes. As we've mentioned, sponsors are just pounding down the door to get a piece of the Alley-Oop program, and Manrags is a fantastic organisation. If you're in the market, and Coach, I'll let you speak on this because when it comes to underwear and socks, you're way more
Why am I speaking on it? Why am I speaking on this?
Well, yours come on and off a lot quicker than what mine do. So.
That's fantastic. That's good.
So, I love them. They're funky colors. They
fit beautifully, Drewy. I go to the mailbox and I got 2 boxes of fresh socks and jocks, and they match, which is amazing. They match.
Yes. Well, it's direct to consumer the way they operate. So if you're looking for a pair of Manrags, jump on their website manrags.com.au. And this is the show that's giving, because if you're interested in a pair or you want to buy fantastic gifts, the combination codes. And I think this is important because to me, I whack a pair of jocks on, I whack a pair of socks on. But with the Manrags arrangement, you can actually have them coordinated.
Absolutely. Now, and they feel nice too. And they just slide on and slide off, Drewy. I love them.
They do have that sort of silky, sexy feel about them. And the thing about them is this organisation, the reason why we love that they've jumped on board the Alley-Oop program is they're really helping do a little something for the environment. It's all from recycled clothing. It's put together. You would never know. These things are beautiful. And they've prevented over 400,000 kilograms of greenhouse gases just because of what they do in reproducing these socks and jocks. But Copes, I wasn't.
Don't forget 20% off.
20% off
with the promo code Alley-Oop.
That's right. So if you go on their site, you go to the checkout, you put in the promo code Alley-Oop. But Copes, it's interesting because I get a little insight into your lifestyle as well when we talk about Manrags, because I was not aware that there was some sort of fashion associated with coordinating the jocks and the socks.
Oh, yes, sir, brother. Oh, yes, sir. See, you've been married for a long time, bro. You got to be stylish when you got it on. You got it off.
The way I see it.
We want to thank Manrags for the socks and jocks. Keep them coming. We love them.
We absolutely love them. And Copes, one thing we also love is the NBA Finals.
Yep.
And LeBron James is yet again putting on another historic display of basketball excellence. We thought the series was going to come alive after Game 3. And it did come alive because it was a dominant performance in Games 1 or 2 by the Los Angeles Lakers. And then Butler put on a 40-point triple-double in Game 3 and got the win for the Miami Heat. And we thought, hello, maybe they've found the kryptonite to the...
Now, was that Miami playing great, or was that the Lakers letting themselves down, Drewy? And I've been saying this for the longest. If Anthony Davis misses a game and doesn't show up, the Lakers are in trouble. And was it the fourth game where
third game 3.
Third game, he had 15 points.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Miami were out. They didn't have 2 of their starters, and they still got the win, which shows me Miami are a tough team and can compete with the guys coming off the bench.
Well, a 40-point triple-double is as rare as rocking horse droppings when it comes to NBA Finals. There's not too many people that have actually been able to do that. In fact, my statistic says there's only 2. Jerry West, LeBron James are the only 2 that have been able to put together a 40-point triple-double. So it's a rare feat, and what was required for the Miami Heat to get that win. But I think you hit the nail on the head. In that game 3, it was all about the self-inflicted wounds, the turnovers.
Yeah.
And for all the greatness of LeBron James, and no one is going to sing his praises more than what I do, but there were some uncharacteristic, sloppy turnovers. And down the other end of the floor, the shooting numbers went way off. And a lot of that was rectified in game 4, Copes, where I thought it was a genuine battle. Bam Adebayo come back in. He had his 15 points and did some good things. But game 4, it was a genuine contest, went down to the wire. And although the Lakers, you seem to have a bit of advantage throughout, it wasn't until the last minute or so when the Lakers really got control of that game.
Well, look, my understanding is Bam is a great player, plays defense, he brings a lot to the table.
Yep.
But Olenek, that third game, did something that I thought helped Miami get that win. He spread the floor. He knocked down 3 out of 5 threes.
Yes.
He had Anthony Davis off the rim. He had to come out and guard him. And we spread the floor, which gave Jimmy Butler the ability to get to that basket, and that's what he did. He scored 40 points. Now, to bring Bam back is not a bad thing, but it's almost as if you're conceding we're going to put our starter back in, and they lost the first 2 games with Bam. So I would have stuck with Olenek, who spreads the floor. Now, of course, you're going to play Bam, but I would have stuck with Olenek just to spread that floor because you had success. Yeah,
it's a real tough one when you figure out those rotations, because in that game 4, it did go down to the wire and they were right in there. But Kelly only played 12 minutes in that game after a sensational game 3 where, you're right, he made some baskets. But Bam Adebayo.
This guy reminds me of you, Drewy. He shoots it every time he touches the ball.
well, I tell you, the way in which the Miami Heat were able to stay with it and really give themselves a chance to compete in that game 4 gives a Heat fan some hope. Now, I think if LeBron James and Anthony Davis, as you mentioned, play to their capacity, then they win. And at 3-1 down, it's going to take an absolute miracle for Miami to win the entire series.
But we've seen this in the playoffs. So we've seen 3-1 down twice. So it can happen. Don't count them out. Don't count these guys out. The one thing that has to happen, though, is Jimmy Butler has to be more aggressive, Drewy. Mm-hmm. He likes to pass the ball, and get his other teammates involved. But if he comes out aggressive and attacks the basket and gets these guys into foul trouble, the other guys will get on board and they got a chance.
Well, Jimmy Butler still had the 22 points and 10 boards in that game 4. But the other thing with that 40-point triple-double in game 3, he did it without one single 3-point field goal made. And above and beyond that, not one 3-point field goal attempted in that game 3, which is extraordinary. The data is saying, you've got to be able to shoot the 3 ball and get to the rim. Now, he certainly does get to the rim. And they weren't able to take it away completely, but they were daring him to shoot the 3. Yep. They were going under on every single screen. And as such, he was getting there, driving into traffic and looked to kick it out. Now, I hear you and I hear the NBA commentators. They're all about Jimmy Butler has got to be more proactive and he's got to get to the rim. Well, he does, but he also understands his skill sets. He also understands that the 3 ball is not his game. They are giving him the 3-point shot. And if they're going to play off you that much, it's very hard for him to go in there and in traffic. Now, he's doing it. Like I said, he still had those 22 points in game 4. But it is very hard to make incredibly tough shots around the rim and, trying to get to the free throw line where he's been very good as well. But if you just pack it in and take that away from him, it just goes to show the way in which the modern game's played, that you really do need to be some sort of threat from the three-point line, which he is capable of, but he just seems reluctant, or has seemed reluctant. He took a few and didn't make any in that game, in game 4, but he does seem, that seems to be an area where the Lakers made a significant adjustment, and it proved productive.
Yep.
Somehow or other, they've got to figure out a way to change things up and take one of their stars, LeBron James or Anthony Davis, reduce their input. And as I mentioned, Goran Dragic could be one that comes in and just be a little bit more disruptive. Now, if you've done your plantar fascia, if you've ever done that before, it is extremely.
He won't be back. He won't do that.
Extremely painful. So I don't see it. But Copes, just as we look ahead to Game 5, do you give Miami any sort of chance? And what is if you put your Eric Spoelstra cap on, how do you go about it?
I go about, again, like you said, in Game 3, they doubled Anthony Davis.
Yep.
And sometimes they double LeBron as well. Now, you can do that, but you can't let guys like Kyle Kuzma come in and score 19 points off the bench, and Morris come in and score 19 points off the bench. Because if one of those guys don't play well, then all of a sudden, you get the win. So at the end of the day, I think you stick with the double teaming of one of the superstars, or even both. Or even both. But you got to be prepared to slow those other guys down that are coming off the bench.
Well, Copes, just on Kyle Kuzma, it was an interesting one because fans, they're fickle. They even when you're talking about your own team, that they're prepared to be highly critical when people don't achieve certain expectations. And I was reading online how, and this again another example of how ruthless the internet can be. There was a petition created that was putting forward the proposition that Kyle Kuzma shouldn't get a championship ring because they were that disappointed in the way in which he was playing. And now here's a guy that was projected to be the second coming of Larry Bird. That's the sort of expectations that were around him. And it's not like he's been poor. He's averaging 10 points a game, close enough to 4 rebounds a game, shooting it at 38%, 39% from the three-point line. But in Game 4 in particular, he came in some big moments and knocked down some big, big threes. I personally look at Kyle Kuzma's situation to say he's a guy that can do a whole lot more. But when you've got LeBron James and Anthony Davis as your 1 and 2 options.
You get the ball every time down the floor. It's hard to beat Kyle Kuzma. Come on, man.
That's exactly right. From the other side of the world, just watching the games on television, I actually think Kyle Kuzma has done a great job of accepting his role when he knows that he has the capacity to do more. So it's quite extraordinary that the judgments that people make about someone's contribution when they don't seem to put the whole thing in context.
That's the you know what, Drewy? Aren't we happy we didn't have social media back when we played? Because sometimes these people can be ridiculous. The janitors will get a ring if the Lakers win.
They do.
Kyle Kuzma's held his own. He's playing with 2 superstars who shoot the ball 80 or 90% of the time. And it's hard to get going sometimes. You're coming off the bench. You're playing 10, 12 minutes. You got to knock down shots, but he's done that. He had 19 points, which is enough to get him a ring right there. There you go.
Copes, I said this last week, and I conceded this midway through the final series, and in particular during the series against Denver. But I tell you what, without Rajon Rondo, I'm not sure the Los Angeles Lakers would be in this position.
How stable is he? How stable does he calm everything down when he comes in?
Has been, your offspring, has been incredible, Copes. And 2 years ago, I thought his career was done. I thought it was a bad decision to recruit him to this group, to the Los Angeles Lakers. But what I've seen from him has been nothing short of spectacular at both ends of the floor.
Would you re-sign him for next year?
100%. He has been. Now, I know he's getting to that veteran stage of his career.
But what he brings to the table is fantastic for the Lakers because he settles them down. Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing he's doing, he's knocking down the three ball.
Yes, he is. Yes,
he's shooting the three ball better in big moments, better than I've ever seen him shoot the three ball throughout his entire career. I don't know what it is, whether it's the light bulb's gone off on his head or whether it's the playing alongside two megastars in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But he has fitted in seamlessly and has been brilliant.
You know why? Because, the Lakers are a fantastic team. LeBron James is a fantastic facilitator, but he's not a true point guard.
Yes.
And what Rondo brings is –
I don't know about that, Copes.
He's not a true point guard, Drewy.
Well, it comes down to what your definition of a true point guard is.
A guy who
he runs a team. He leads the team in assists. He's the leader of the floor. He controls it.
Turnovers. He's not a true point guard, Drewy. Come on, man.
So you're doing that stereotypically.
So you're saying LeBron James is a true point guard. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is he plays as good as a true point guard. He does what a true point guard.
Rondo looks so good then when he comes in off the bench. Explain that to me, Mr. Man.
Oh, he supplements the role and he allows LeBron James to do other things when he's out there. No question. But when you look at what the role of a point guard is, come on, Copes. There's no question when LeBron James is out there, he can play the point guard as good as anyone.
Of course, he can play the point guard. He's not a true point guard.
He does true point guard things, Copes.
He passes the ball. He's smart, but he's not. Rondo comes in and calms the team down. If LeBron played, if there was no Rondo, the series would be 2-2 or 3-1 the other way. I'm telling you now.
I agree that his contribution has been spectacular. Yeah, you can't. People take LeBron, like people like you, I'm going to say, they take LeBron James.
Fantastic player.
No, you take him for granted, Coach.
The GOAT, Drewy. LeBron's not the GOAT. Don't act like LeBron's the GOAT.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, though, people take him for granted and hold him to standards that are unrealistic. He is doing extraordinary things.
He's not a point guard, Drewy. He's not a.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is he does true point guard things.
Of course.
He's distributing the ball, he controls the tempo, he creates shots for others. He does a whole lot of things. It's just that he's 6'10" and he does it. People don't.
Magic Johnson played center his first year, and they won a championship when he came out.
We played all 5 spots.
Okay, but he's not a 5-man, but he can play it. That's all I'm saying. That's the comparison.
Yes.
He's not a 5-man, but he played it well. LeBron's not a point guard, but he plays it well. He's not a true point guard, but he can do point guard things.
All right, let's move on in this series to the topic that I think is going to, well, in my view, I think is going to be debatable. Let's assume that the Lakers go ahead and win this series. And there is still one game to go. There may be 2, but there's at least one game to go. And anything can happen in that game that can change your view. But who is the finals MVP? Now, to me, it's LeBron James. Only because Anthony Davis had that one stinker. He had the stinker in Game 3. And LeBron's had a stinker in that game, but still put up the numbers.
If Miami win, who's your MVP?
If Miami win, we shut down the league for the next 3 years because that would be – I don't think anyone's going to top that. They're not going to – I think it's very, very difficult to see that if they're going to win. But if they win, Jimmy Butler, of course.
If they go to 7, you still give it to LeBron?
Well, like I said, you've got to see what happens and the way it unfolds. But right now, based on the evidence we have –
right now you got to give it to LeBron. Right now you got to give it to LeBron.
I knew I'd get it out of you somehow.
He deserves it. Look, LeBron's
I know it's pained you to say that.
Oh, no. LeBron's a superstar. He deserves the MVP if they win it.
Yes.
If they lose it, these guys better go find a hole somewhere and get in it, bro.
Well, wouldn't that be extraordinary for a variety of different reasons? One, for the incredible turnaround by the Miami Heat, which I think it's not going to happen. But let's just put your hat on. Imagine, Copes. Imagine the backlash, the criticism. Hey?
The bubble will burst, bro. If he loses this, he better not lose it. I'm hoping he doesn't lose it because he deserves more. He deserves better. But,
No, he does. Just quickly on LeBron. And this is because you're sort of in that camp where you sit on the edge when it comes.
Never on the edge, bro.
It seems like you sit on the edge. You don't give him the accolades and the adulation, which I do, and which I think he deserves. But after game 3, there's point something left of a second left on the clock because they ran the
10
clock.
seconds left on the clock, not point.
No, Coach.
Court? You mean when he walked off the court?
There was less than a second. There was point.
No, Drewy.
Coach,
you want to bet me? Would you like to bet me?
There was less than a second.
No, Drewy. Why are they making such a thing about it? Why are they making less than a second?
There was less than a second. There was 0.7 of a second.
He was walking when
true. He was. That's right. And then that's the question.
7, 8, 9 seconds.
No, they dribbled it out. The shot clock went off.
Nah, bro. Nah.
They took the ball out, and there was 0.7 or something left, and they had to actually sub in players because they needed 5 on the floor.
Well, anyway, what do you think about that? Should he have walked off the floor?
Coach, it was an inadvertent accident.
Nah, bro, no.
Coach, they're dribbling it out.
He was pissed off that they got their ass kicked.
Of course he was.
So wait like everybody else, Mr. LeBron, I never do anything wrong. Come on, man. When he messes up, you got to tell him. What is this, Donald Trump? When he messes up, you tell him. You don't just accept the fact that he messed up. Stay ass on the floor. We paying you to stay on the floor. You don't walk off the floor. Come on, dude.
And you're kind of answering the question before I even propose it.
I did.
What I was proposing was, do you think that we are making too much of a big deal, or we had made too much of a big deal? And there wasn't a huge deal. People didn't jump up like with some of the things he's done when he was younger. But should someone be tapping on the shoulder and saying, mate, you do the right thing and stay out there? Or does it really matter? It didn't matter. It really made no difference. Because like I said, Coach, it was trust me, it was less than a second. He might have walked off. He might have walked off while the clock was still running down, like with 2 seconds ago when they were dribbling it. But eventually when they went to pass it in, there was less than a second.
Listen, reverse that. And if Miami walks off the floor, LeBron goes back to the locker room and says, do you see that? They don't respect. He says something to his teammates about they don't respect him. So if you flip the script, then of course, that's why I say LeBron, just do the right thing. It's only a second, like you say. Stand there and take that ass whooping because you've been giving it all year. And you got to do the right thing because other teams don't walk off on you when you win, brother.
Yes.
All right. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think they do. But anyway, I agree with you in principle that he should have just stayed on there and did the right thing. But as far as an issue, as far as this being something that you and I are talking about or that people are being overly critical of LeBron, maybe, hey, LeBron, do the right thing and stay out there. But some people just go way over the top. If this had been, Coach, if this had been Alex Caruso walking off with 0.7 of a second or whatever it was less than a second. No one even makes mention of it. It doesn't even figure in a conversation anywhere. But it's because it's LeBron.
Alex Caruso don't get paid $38 million.
Doesn't matter what you're getting paid.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
it comes down to the standards. No, Coach. It doesn't matter what you get paid. It comes down to the standards you set and the expectations as fans we should hold.
He's the team captain. He's supposed to do the right thing, Drew. Because once he starts doing it, now everyone thinks they can do it. And what happens to the NBA now? Guys are walking. There's 10 seconds left in the game. Oh, the game's over. I'm going to walk off the floor. It's the wrong thing to do. Leave your ass on the floor for another 2 seconds. No one's talking about it.
This is the type of overreaction which I think makes.
Okay, so next week, when somebody else walks off the floor, you're going to say, there's no problem. Then all of a sudden it goes from.
But there's 0.6 of a second, and it's. I'm going to say, no, he shouldn't have done it, but let's not carry on. I actually looked at it and saw LeBron thought, there's the shot clock and game clock were aligned, and it was just going to.
All right.
I did. So I think he inadvertently did it. I don't think he intentionally did it to make some sort of statement.
He was pissed off that they got their ass.
Yeah, he was, but he didn't know. He's just walking off thinking that the shot clock and.
He knew what was going on. He's not stupid, bro. Now, the problem is if someone else does it.
I hear you.
and 15 seconds. And what if somebody walks off the floor with half of the game to go? Come on, Drew.
No, that's different, Copes. You got to put it in context of what's happening on. Why do you got to be such a LeBron hater?
I'm just telling you what it is, bro. You can't do it.
Unbelievable.
And one more thing. Let's talk about LeBron. One more thing I got to.
Yes.
Why does he cry on every play? Drewy?
No, Copes. LeBron, he over-exaggerates things.
Every play he exaggerates, Drewy.
Well, actually, I'm glad you mentioned this because Anthony Davis, he's taking it to new. He is entering into the soccer territory of player behaviour.
Let me tell you why
little
he's
grade. He goes down like he's been shot.
Let me tell you why he's mad on LeBron. Let me tell you why he's mad on LeBron. Because LeBron will make a layup and go to the bench and flex his muscles like he's Mr. Strongman. But then the next play down the court, someone taps his ear and he grabs his head like somebody just shot him. Really?
Anthony Davis is way worse than LeBron.
You can't tell me that does not happen.
I agree. I agree.
More than anybody in the NBA.
Coach, I agree.
Point guard you could ever have. You want to talk about point guards? Come on, dude.
Coach, I agree LeBron does it. He exaggerates content.
Then we get that out of the league.
But, Coach, Anthony Davis is way worse.
He's learning from LeBron. He's in LeBron's camp.
Mate, he got hit, his little flick in the head. He threw his head back. I'm surprised he didn't put his L2 and L3 out of action. His vertebrae didn't pop out of his head the way he threw his head back. And then 20 seconds later, he's up and about and he's no problem.
That's right. So those guys are floppers. That's why people hate the Lakers. That's why.
Coach, LeBron James
all this money, $30-40 million a year. We don't want to watch acting. We know you live in LA. We want to see the game, bro. Come on.
Well, don't see. This is why I don't know why you're a LeBron James hater so much. Anthony Davis is
because he flops, and he's supposed to be the face of the NBA. Stop flopping,
Coach. He
is the face of the NBA right now, and he's the biggest flopper. He's working on his movie career.
No, he's not the biggest flopper.
Who's the biggest flopper?
Well, if you're just comparing him to Anthony, there's bigger floppers than all of them. But Anthony Davis, it was starting to frustrate me watching that game forward. The way now they're both superstars, but hey, quick shout out to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Yes. In that game 4, he hit a big 3. They got it back to 2 with a couple of minutes or the dying stage. I can't remember exactly how long. He hit a huge 3, and the next play went in and made it 2. So in crucial times, he is stepping up big time. So for him. Now, Coach, there was a few other players that we wanted to talk about. The time is getting away from us, so we need to move on. Yep. Coach, I want to get your view because last week we speculated and went through all the hypotheticals for the next coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. Yep. And we spoke about Doc Rivers taking that job. Well, again, the people in the United States at the Philadelphia 76ers, I believe they've tuned in to the Alley-Oop program. 100%. I had a couple phone calls asking me about that. And listened to our conversation because bugger me if 2 days later, Doc Rivers signed as the next head coach.
5-year deal, too. 5 years. They're not messing around.
Of the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, the Philadelphia 76ers has come up in conversations for a number of reasons. One, Doc Rivers as being the next appointment. And 2, JJ Reddick in his podcast and getting some opinions about the challenges that the Philadelphia 76ers have had to face over the last couple of seasons. Yep. And he made particular points to, 1, getting rid of him.
Together, do you feel like those two?
They fucked up not bringing me back, man. They fucked up not bringing me back.
I agree.
I think they probably realized they needed a little more shooting.
Which perhaps a little self-indulgent, but I think we all agree with it, that was not a great move. 2, the turnover of players. Yes. But the other one that always comes up in conversation is Ben Simmons. Yep. So a number of things to break down when it comes to the Philadelphia 76ers. But firstly, let's tackle Doc Rivers. To me, outstanding choice. And Doc Rivers saying all the things, if you're Ben Simmons, you want him to say in all his interviews as he's accepted the position by saying, I don't care. I'd like him to shoot some threes, but that's not going to be my point of emphasis. It's about getting the best out of Ben. Perfect. I thought he handled it perfectly, the conversation regarding Ben Simmons.
Listen, let me tell you this.
Yep.
I agree with you 100%.
Yep.
But if Philadelphia don't win the Eastern Conference this year, or doesn't get to the playoffs and do very well, Doc Rivers will change his tone straight away. Because Ben's been playing. Ben's a great player. We all know that. Embiid's a great player. But for some strange reason, they don't fit well together. I don't know why. I'm not saying I'm an expert.
Yep.
People say Embiid comes to camp and he's not in shape. Doc Rivers will bring that respect. And if Doc Rivers is smart, he's going to put his foot down and say, bring your ass to camp in shape, or I'm going to look for somebody else. And he's going to, and also with Ben Simmons, he's going to say, Ben, I don't want you shooting threes, but if you're wide open and you don't shoot it, it's going to hurt us. So get your ass in the gym in the summer and work on that jump shot, because teams are starting to back off Ben now because he's so fast. Shoot it, Ben, shoot it. Ben, it's a part of the game. We're not saying you have to be a three-point shooter, but if someone's leaving you wide open, you have to have that skill set to be able to at least shoot it. If you can't, then let them go get the rebound, Drew, but you got to take the shot.
Yeah, I have a slightly different view. I agree that would be a bonus, and you continue to work on it. But I think when you've got a superstar like Ben Simmons, it comes down to the makeup of the rest of the team. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you need really good players around him, and they're good enough that they're going to be able to make it work. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are not LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and in regards to how they can run a team and how they can bring the best out of the team. So I say that Ben Simmons needs those shooters around him. How you surround him with those shooters, because even if they are going to back off you, provided the floor is spread, he is so good, so big, and so unique that provided the floor is spread, you give him a running start at it, he's going to be able to get to the rim and make things happen. It's when the others out there, you can hedge off and create you can pack it in so much, that really hurts Ben. So I think that Ben is so elite in those other areas that I'm not convinced it is so imperative that he becomes a three-point shooter.
Let me ask you a question.
It helps. I agree with you. It helps.
Let me ask you a question. Is J.J. Reddick an elite three-point shooter?
My word, he is.
Okay. Now, you have J.J. Reddick 2 years ago on the wing, right?
Yes.
How did it work with Ben Simmons getting to the basket?
It was great. It was fine.
Why in the hell would you get rid of J.J. Reddick? So, obviously, whoever's running the show in Philadelphia thinks you don't need shooters. You don't need other players around Ben and Joel Embiid. You got Butler who's gone. You got J.J. Reddick who's gone. Two proven veterans who can get you to the next level. But whoever's running the show in Philadelphia thinks Embiid and Simmons are the show. So they're not looking to put anything around them.
Well, that's true. And I think that one of the issues Brett Brown and the Philadelphia 76ers have had over the past, 7 years now, they've had Sam Hickey came in who started the process.
Yep.
He was pushed aside for Brian Colangelo, who came in and he had the two phones Brian Colangelo.
Yes.
Had the stuff going on with the social on the social media stuff that caused a rift and stuff. They said ta-da to him. And then Elton Brand comes in. Now, you know yourself in this game that when you've got guys in those powerful decisions, they're not always – all three of those are not going to be aligned on what's best for the team. And all three of those coming in there and want to put their own imprint on the team. And as such, as J.J. Reddick alluded to, you've had this massive turnover of players. Now, we all know that that's not conducive to consistent performance. Now, they've been good over the last couple of years.
Consistent success. You can't have success when you keep bringing.
That's right. So all these conversations about Ben Simmons, if they think that the fact that he's going to get a three-point shot is going to be the panacea to all the problems. No, it's not. There are a whole bunch of other things going on that need to be resolved.
Drew, if I'm Doc Rivers, then before I sign a 5-year deal, I'm going to have some kind of say in who I can bring in and who stays and who leaves. Because obviously, again, these three guys who were running the show in Philadelphia have decided to go different ways. Yep. Now, the problem is they've signed these other guys to all this major money, so they don't have a lot of money to deal with now.
Yep.
So before I'm Doc Rivers and taking this job, I'm saying, listen, guys, if Ben and Embiid don't work, I got to be able to pick who I want to bring in here, and you got to accept it.
Yeah. And the other one that jumped into this conversation over the last couple of weeks is Jimmy Butler himself, and not glowing of Ben Simmons. Very glowing of Joel Embiid.
What did he say, Drew? Tell us what he said.
Well, he's saying he was basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically saying that he got along really well with Joel Embiid, his personality type, his desire, his focus, all those things. He was very supportive. What he was alluding to with Ben Simmons was there's this competitive makeup, there's this ability to lead a team and create that team harmony that he questioned Ben in that area. Now, whether that's fair or not, and clearly that there was it sounds like there was some personality clashes with Jimmy Butler, hence probably one of the main reasons why he was no longer there. So there may be ulterior motives, but there clearly was a problem between Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler.
In other words, he said sometimes he thinks Ben Simmons doesn't work as hard as he should in order to get to the next level. Now, he's a player.
I don't know if he said that. I don't know.
I'm telling you what he said. I'm telling you from reading last year what he said. He says, Ben Simmons doesn't work as hard as he should be working in the offseason to get to the next level. That's sort of what he said.
Well, I took it more as if to say around his relationship with his teammates that Ben Simmons may not be able to bring a team together. Now, who knows whether that's right or wrong.
Yep.
What it does lead to, and the question that I actually posed to Ben Gulliver, who is a tremendous, and again, I encourage people to jump on the podcast and check him out. I asked Ben Gulliver about this issue, and he has reached the position that one way or another, he doesn't think that Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons can ultimately coexist.
Like most people.
Are you? What camp are you in? I think they can. I'll be honest. I think they can. So I'll put that on the table.
Time enough to do it. They've had, how many years have they been together?
No, they haven't, Coach. Not like I just brought off it.
How many years have they been together, Drewy? 3 or 4, maybe?
4, probably.
4 years.
One of those years Ben didn't play, I don't.
Two elite players, great players. I'm not taking anything away from Embiid. I'm not taking anything away from Ben Simmons.
Yep.
Sometimes players just don't mix. And we've heard over the years that they sometimes don't get along on the floor and off. We've heard that from different general managers as well. Face to face with general managers who said these guys don't get along. Now, he could have been wrong, but he knows more than we do because he's in the mix.
Well, Coach, I put it down to the fact that with all the different player personnel, with all through the general managers coming and going and the turnover of players with JJ Reddick and Jimmy Butler have all, and even I think Joel Embiid can understand it, mate. Over the past 7 years, they've had just this revolving door of players. I think. And you're a young player. Ben is still a credibly young man dealing with all this different turnover. I don't know if they've had a legitimate, real good crack at it because of age, turnover of players, those things, different directions of the general manager.
You bring in a veteran guy around them to get them on the right track, to get Embiid to come in in shape because, look, let's stop teasing ourselves. We know sometimes he doesn't run the floor. He looks out of shape. I don't care what you say.
Who?
Embiid.
Oh, yeah, a little.
Let's stop kidding ourselves. He's a great player. Imagine him, and people, Charles Barkley and all those guys talk about it. Embiid, you'll come on TV and you'll talk about, you'll have a great game of 40 points and talk about, I want to be the man. Then the next game you have 3 points or 5 points. It's not good enough, Drewy, for the amount. And I keep bringing up the money, and I know you don't like that. But if I'm paying my top player, then you got to play like a top player. Ben Simmons, this is the same thing. And people talk about the 3-point shot. He didn't have to develop a 3-point shot, but sometimes he needs to work on it. we all need to get better. You need to show that you're trying to get better, Drewy. If I'm paying you the top dollar, hey, not just because of scoring points, but because of guys watching you and other people watching you.
Hey, Coach, Kyrie Irving. If I am Steve Nash, there were two things that happened over the last 10 or so days that come from the mouth of Kyrie Irving that would just have sent a shiver down my spine. Firstly, and most importantly, in regards to Steve Nash, he came out and basically says he doesn't see Steve Nash as his coach, and that he and KD, Kevin Durant, they coaches themselves. They coach on the floor in a game. I'm paraphrasing here, but alluding to the proposition that Steve Nash is going to be a figurehead that just keeps us all together, but he's not really the coach. Now, if I'm Steve Nash, the alarm bells would be ringing, and if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I'm saying this is doomed for disaster if that's the attitude that Kyrie Irving is taking. Now, he compounded the week of Kyrie Irving because not only did he say that, he also went out there and went on the record to say that going to be thrilled and to be able to, in the dying stages of game, to be able to defer to someone else. Now, you cannot do anything else other than to say that that was a kick in the guts to LeBron James because he played alongside him and won a title with Cleveland. But to come out and say that and cast aspersions on some of the great players that he's played with, really, I couldn't understand why he'd want to do that. I'll
tell you why, Drew. I'll tell you why. Now, I heard Stephen A. Smith talking about this, and he said the reason – we'll go to the second question first. The reason Kyrie said that was because KD was sitting there, and they're talking about being good next year, and somebody asked him a question about how's it going to feel to play with KD, and sort of he probably played it the wrong way. And social media jumped on it straight away to say as if he's dogging LeBron. Now, we all know Kyrie and LeBron don't really get along as good as they used to or whatever. They might still be friends, but there was a problem. You know, Kyrie wanted to be the man. LeBron was the man. Kyrie left, okay? So I don't think he was having a dig at LeBron. I think he was trying to pump up KD more than having a dig, but it was absolutely the wrong thing to say.
10 seconds left. 1 point game. Who's shooting? You or Kyrie, KD?
Depends on who's hot. I don't see it as anything other than that. Like 1-3 pick and roll, or it's an ISO for either one of us, or it's something great for our team. One thing I've always been comfortable with is, you know, I felt like I was the best option on every team I played for, you know, down the stretch. This is the first time in my career where I could look down and be like, that motherfucker can make that shot too.
But when you say something like Nash is not our coach, or Nash is just a figurehead and we'll be doing most of the coaching, sort of.
That's exactly what he was alluding to.
Now, we all know.
And on top of that, Copes, on top of that, not only did he say that, he singled out Jacques Vaughn, who was the interim coach, who's been there a while, and then said, well, he would be a good – it was almost saying, well, we want Jacques Vaughn. I looked at the comments and admittedly in isolation and thought, he's absolutely smashed Steve Nash with those comments, and he's tried to pump up Jacques Vaughn himself and KD as going to be the coaching crew.
Now, what we heard was he signed off on Steve Nash and KD. Those two guys signed off. I'm not sure he did. Huh?
Based on the comments that he's made, I'm not sure he did.
Well, they say in order for Steve Nash to get that job, he had to have somebody sign off. Those two guys sign off because he's working with them. We all know Steve Nash is a great guy, a lot of skill, great point guard, will bring plenty of experience as a player to that fold. But at the end of the day, Kyrie was wrong for what he said. But if you're a basketball player and you're a pro, it's like that anyway. The players call the shots. You just can't say that. The players call the shots anyway, Drew.
No, I don't agree. I do not agree.
Are you trying to tell me the players don't call the shots?
Well, I'm telling you the players have a disproportionate amount of input compared to other leagues around the world. I don't disagree with that. But I don't think Eric Spoelstra I think the
You
reason
don't think
why,
Jimmy Butler can go up to Eric Spoelstra and say, "Look, man."
of course he is, but ultimately he's going to respect Eric Spoelstra, and
100%.
Eric Spoelstra's calling the plays.
100%.
Eric Spoelstra is figuring out the rotations.
But let me tell you something, Drewy. Don't get this twisted, brother.
Yeah.
Let me tell
Brad
you.
Stevens, they're most of them.
Let me tell you something, Drewy. If it came down to Eric Spoelstra
Yeah.
and Jimmy Butler, and I shouldn't even say Eric Spoelstra. I should say if it comes down to a big money player and a coach, again, I keep going back to the money. If a player is making $38 million a year and a coach is on $3 million a year, and there's some conflicts, and they go to the general manager and say, "We don't get along with this coach," who's going to get who's out? Who's out, Drew?
Well, I think that most organizations are going to. Well, they're going to. The answer to that is they're going to do their absolute very best to try and figure out a way to
But if
make
one
it
has
work.
to go $38 million or $3 million, who's
Well,
out?
it varies. It varies. If you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, they chose Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Brett Brown ahead of Jimmy Butler. Clearly,
Well,
okay.
Okay,
If you look at the Clippers,
I'm talking about coaching players, Drew.
if you look at the Clippers and you see what's happening here, you could perhaps make the assumption that well maybe the Clippers thought that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, if there was a conflict, which I don't know if there was a conflict, but maybe that they would be more important. So I think
get off the fence. $38 million and $3 million, and they go to the general manager and say, "We don't get along with the coach. He doesn't listen." Who's out the door?
it depends. If you no, it does, Copes. It does, Copes.
You let yourself down.
No, it's not, because here I'll give you examples. I don't care if
one or two coaches.
I don't care who it was in after they've won 3 titles. If Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich had a falling out, ta-da, Tim.
Okay.
Ta-da.
You can name one. Phil Jackson. Tim, you can name 1 or 2 coaches that probably won't be gone.
Yeah.
But the majority of the NBA is run by the top players today. Not back in the day.
Yeah.
Not back in the day.
Yep.
When they had respectful coaches. We know what it's like.
Yep.
If a player doesn't like what's going on with the coach, all he has to do is get another player with him, make a couple of phone calls.
Yep.
The coach is having a meeting with the general manager.
No, I agree that's
looking for a job, bro.
No, I don't get me wrong.
Seeker. He's on job seeker, bro.
No, he's not, because he's still getting paid his guaranteed contract from his organizer. And you're right. A lot of the times that will be the conclusion, and there's no doubt that the head coach is more vulnerable than some of the players. I agree with that, but there are times in situations where you'll look at it and say, well, this player is great, but we can't have the tail wagging the dog.
Well,
you've got to at some point in time, the good organisations will make a decision on their players and say, well, it's time for you to move on. And Kyrie Irving, based on the conversations that I have seen, as great as he is now getting into a point where he said some cockamamie things over his career.
100%.
Real cockamamie. Like, he's even gone to the point to say the earth is flat. I mean, please, give me a spell, Kyrie.
Yeah.
So, and then he's doing this, and he made 2 ridiculous comments, public comments.
He's Australian. He was born here. You guys just talk about that.
Well,
Kyrie was born in Australia. He should be playing. Now all of a sudden you don't want him anymore.
No, we do.
Get back to the United States, huh? All right. Remember that. He was born here.
Well, the way I'm seeing it with these types of comments, he's overstepped the boundaries too many times that maybe he is more of a problem than some of the other issues. So they need to be very, very
careful. He better come in and play well. He better come in and really have a very good season, because if he doesn't, then that might be one of the times where you're talking about they look at getting rid of him rather than getting rid of Nash.
Well, Steve Nash has got some heavy lifting to do, and it seems like he's got some hard conversations, because here's the thing. Kyrie Irving, if he's out there that outspoken, the thing that worried me the most is Kevin Durant. He was asked to comment on it, and he actually agreed with it. Now, whether it was out of context, whether he was agreeing with something specifically related to the coaching aspect of it, which he was asked, and saying that both of those guys are kind of the coaches, I don't know. But not only is he saying outlandish things for him, but if that permeates throughout the group and undermines the coach, They are cooked.
What do
I
you
don't
do?
care how
What do
good
you
they
do?
are.
Well, how do you fix it right now? How do you fix it right now?
Well, straight away, if I am now, it's hard because he's relatively new. If I'm Sean Marks, I'm saying, hey, Steve, come over. I'm getting a meeting with Kyrie Irving. Sit him down and say, mate, we're on board with you. We want you to do your things. But he's got to be educated how that undermines the whole team if you say that stuff about the coach. That's my view. Hey, Coach, we're not done yet because I need to get your views on our last thing. The NBL, it's going to be back in 2021. The season's looking like starting in the start of the end of January, start of February, which is great. Let's hope that eventuates. But over the last week or so, it has been revealed that the new Tasmania team is known as the Jack Jumpers.
Jack Jumpers.
The Jack Jumpers.
Never heard of them before. Never heard of that before, but it's funny. It's funny.
Well, Coach, we spoke about this, and it wasn't our pick for the options that were presented. And let me give you my view. When I first heard the Jack Jumpers, I thought, I was perhaps less polarized than some. Some were very, very critical. I was like, gee, that wouldn't have been my choice, but I don't really understand Jack Jumpers. What's all this about? And questioned whether that was the right decision. But then when I saw the little video that they did to promote the Jack Jumper, the little caricature.
The animated video that they had.
Yeah, and the caricature, the creation of the caricature of a Jack Jumper.
Jack Jumper, yep.
And you learn about how they're these ants that are native to that part of the world. I think it's a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
I thought it was just way out there, but a stroke of genius.
Because they can promote it, because they can promote that mascot, sponsors get on board. The name is, people are asking, what the hell is a, so people are trying to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
What is a Jack Jumper? I had to Google it. I had no idea what the hell a Jack Jumper is.
Yeah.
But like you said, it probably was a stroke of genius. It was.
Well, it's good to see that we can end with both of us agreeing unanimously. I think we agree, but just we agree on most things. But
we agree on LeBron should have left the floor. We agree on that, don't we?
No. Well, see, we do agree on that, but I don't agree with the vitriolic nature in which you and others like you that don't particularly like LeBron like to use this as fodder for your hatred, which I don't agree with that. Copes.
Where can we find this podcast, Drewy? Where
you can find it virtually anywhere. As you people can see, the NBA executives, they're listening in every week. And we're under the pump to get it out on time because they just need to know what decisions to make. So, but Spotify is brilliant. We're learning that most people are consuming us through audio, which is a setback because look at us. Fantastic looking blokes.
Hey, sure. It's not a setback for me as long as they're hearing it, brother. That's all we want. That's
good. Hey, Manrags, let's end by saying get this podcast wherever you get it. But Manrags, fantastic organisation. If you're looking for underwear, and with Christmas coming up, the underwear socks package coordinating is.
And it feels good. I keep saying it.
They do.
You slide it on.
Yeah, it's like
slide it off, bro. It feels like silk.
And we're prepared here at Alley-Oop to give you 20% off. So go to manrags.com.au, put in the code Alley-Oop. That's ALLEYOOP. Type that in. Automatically, you see your purchase price drop by 20%. That is a significant saving.
You're right. That is great Christmas presents too.
Unbelievable. So
and they sell female gear as well.
My word, they do. Now I haven't sort of ventured into that area
well,
myself,
there you go.
When Christmas time comes around, the colourful nature of it, just fantastic. Copes, been great catching up with you. We say to everyone out there, continue to stay safe. And NBA Finals, Lakers to get the win, Copes. I don't think you've changed either.
Lakers will win it. I think
Lakers to get the win. All right, that's all we've got time for this week. In fact, we've got plenty of other time, but really we're talking, waffling on for too long. We need to say goodbye. We thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to your company again next week on the Alley-Oop program. Until then, bye for now.
This has been a No Filter Media production.
Say what you want.